right? So I have this client that I do talking head videos for. Sincerely, I was so happy to have gotten this job to work with her. I really loved it when we started. I was so excited about it. Like, I literally jumped on it, not for the money, but for the person who I was working with. She wanted to, be one of my church member in my former church, and I loved her. But then along the line, it just happened that I got the job at a phase of my life where I was financially down, and every single challenge or whatever setback I seem to encounter on the way to want to deliver my job, all seemed or perceived as excuse, and that made me really feel bad. It's not their fault, it's me, right? And then I thought about it. Now the relationship went south. The contract was terminated. But then I asked myself, where did I miss it? And where did I go wrong? And what didn't I do right to have been able to manage this relationship, or to have been able to better cope in working with these clients, right? And thankfully, we have already started reading the book by James Clear, Atomic Habits, because I wrote something down that I got from that book. A few things. Let me get my bag, because I just came back from work and I wasn't feeling so good because the contract was terminated. And don't ask me that, how did you feel? Of course, I felt that way you were imagining. Oh my God, how will I feel from now on? What will I do? I mean, that's not the whole money. Yeah. But remember, we are still doing our other job on the side as a receptionist, right, at a hotel. That's our 9 to 5. I actually wrote something down and I want to get it. Voila, here it is. Yeah, from the beginning of the page, where it talks about the Britain cycling team, as at that time that they were constantly falling back, not able to win any awards, and they were struggling really bad. That at some point there was a bike company at the time who manufactures bikes for people to use, that they even refused to sell to this cycling team, all because they do not want their company to be associated with that team. Now why I'm bringing that is they happened to they hired a new coach. I think, if I'm not wrong, Brace Ford. If you don't know the name, that's why you need to go and read the book. Brace Ford, right? Now that new coach came and literally changed everything. Now the hiring of that coach, Braceford, was the beginning of the transformation of that Britain cycling team. They won many awards after that. But let's rewind back to how it all started, which is the lesson I picked that I'm going to use to handle the situation I'm in right now. It says search for tiny margin of improvements in everything that you do. Search for a tiny margin of improvement in everything that you do. So you, just in case you're going to look for it, that is not exactly how it was written, but I just rephrased it that way, right? And then he said that if you broke down everything that goes into bicycling and all of that, right, where would you have to start from? And then I brought it back to myself. Instead of asking, okay, what could I do differently? How do I change everything? I knew I had a role to play, okay, in the termination of that contract. It was as a result of the constant excuses of financial constraints, of that. But in real sense, it's not something I could control, right? But then there could be a better way to minimize the excuses, right? And then I said, okay, first, the things that affected is, let's write it down. Low payments, okay, and I said, okay, that's fine. No funds to feed, no funds to run data, no funds to transport. So as a video editor, you need data to edit your videos. Yeah, if you're a video editor, you can relate. Even if you're using the simplest of editing software like CapCut, you need to be connected to your data to be able to use all the features and even to ready to flow like seamlessly, right? And I said, okay, so now let's now bring it back to my dream. As a personal brand, I want to be a brand strategist or even a brand strategy consultant and a content strategist. I want to be the baddest, the best of the video editors, a cinematographer. And then now, if I broke down everything I could think of that goes into becoming who and what I want to be, what's the littlest of them all? Because that's where I'm starting from. Remember my mantra: start small, start simple, stay consistent. So what's the littlest of them all? And then I thought, the first thing first, which I learned from Atomic Habits. Oh my god. Is that we're going to have to start saving. So saving, let's say as little, 10,000 naira in Nigerian currency, 10% of 10,000 naira in Nigerian currency is 1,000 naira. So 10% of 1,000 naira in Nigerian currency is 100 naira, 100 naira. So now someone dashes me, like for example, someone dashes me 2,000 naira, right? So the 10% of that 2,000 naira will be 200 naira. Start small. Okay, since we want to start small, so that will be consistent. Now the secret I think that is going to bet in me might not be obvious to others, but it will be obvious to me, is to first build the culture of saving, right? Is to first develop the culture of saving in me before, right, I now really go into saving good money. Do you get? So that's the secret of starting small. It's just to develop the culture of something first over time. Good. So in that case, we're not going to be doing 10%. We're going to start with 5% and stay consistent. In other words, I could be in a situation where right now I don't have any money, right, to eat or cook or do anything. Now somebody sends me by chance maybe 1,000 naira. 10% of 1,000 naira should have been how much? 100 naira. But when I calculate, okay, there's literally nothing in the house right now, but we need to stay consistent with saving, and we need to start small so that it is easy to follow through and be consistent with it. So we're going to do 5%. Now, of course, 10% of 1,000 naira in Nigerian currency is 100 naira. So that 100 naira, we're going to divide it into two, because 10%, we are doing 5%, right? So 5% of 10% is into two. That is like splitting 10% into two parts. So 5%. Good. That means our 5% from 1,000 naira in Nigerian currency that somebody might dash me today will be 50 naira. It's good, honey. It's good. Start from there, then we go from there. Do you get it? That's how we're going to do it. Now 5%. Then the next thing we say we're going to do is get our pricing right for our service, to avoid repeating, because I am very big on relationship. I am very, in fact, if there's anything that has helped my life so far, especially in this kind of phase that I'm in, relationships that I've built over the years. Yes, sometimes you mess up and all of that. That it doesn't mean that you're going to be perfect 100%. You're going to mess up, and that's okay. But just know that you are intentionally, building this relationship, not deliberately hurting the relationship. Now, this was not a deliberate act, right? So it's okay to forgive myself for that. That's fine. So I'm going to make sure I get my price right for my services. That's to now help me not to repeat, those things that hurt the relationship that was just terminated now. Okay, now pricing right. And then the next thing you want to do is this other small habit that contributes to this. Whenever you say you're going to get a job done, get it done. And the best way is to start 3 hours before the time you said you're going to deliver the job to the clients. So I'm going to stop here and run with this. So in my next video, we're going to address all of things. But yeah, these are the ways I'm handling the situation right now, and I'm so thankful to God that I started reading the Atomic Habits on time earlier on before this whole thing happened, because it actually helped my mind and helped my perspective, to view the whole situation and not to be emotionally hurt or broken down by the situation right now, right? Unlike me before, I'd have been crying all over the place. Was I hurt? Yes, I was really hurt, but then I looked at it from a different perspective and a different lens, and from a different approach. So I hope this helps you too. In case you are in a similar situation, you should get that book. Sometimes probably it's just the habits you probably need to change to start making a difference in your own life. It's not always about the people. At times it's about us. Let's check ourselves. Let's look inward. And yeah, that contract is over, but I'm grateful to God still that something better will come. So why something better is coming, we're going to be fixing ourselves, myself. So yeah, let me know what you got from this video, and here's, are you going to be using this to handle your own situation? And don't forget to read the Atomic Habits book.